A violent convicted sex offender walks out of an Idaho prison after accepting a plea deal and $515 in court fees. This guy, whose legal name is Pirate, yes, that's his name, pled guilty after using cigarettes to burn a woman with disabilities in November of 2020. Yesterday, he was sentenced to time served after he spent a year in Idaho's Bannock County Jail before his release in December. The November 2020 attack is just the latest run-in with the law for Pirate, who has a lengthy criminal past that spans across several states and includes charges of kidnapping and sexual assault. Pirate changed his name from Daniel Selovich in 2013. He initially faced multiple felony counts, but as part of that plea agreement, the charges were reduced to misdemeanors. The Idaho attack, just the latest in a long history of crimes against women. Here's just part of his rap sheet. 2004. He raped a woman in Redding, California, plead guilty in 2010, served 4 years in prison. Also in 2004, broke into a Las Vegas motel room, sexually assaulted a woman, beat her with a belt, pled guilty in 2018 and was sentenced to 5 years behind bars. 2015, Pirate allegedly held a woman captive for 5 weeks in a remote Alaskan cabin, sexually assaulting and beating her daily. The hostage managed to call for help and was rescued by helicopter. Before Pirate could go to trial, the woman died and the case was dismissed. It was the DNA in this case that connected Pirate to the Las Vegas sexual assault. Pirate has even boasted about his history of being able to avoid going to prison for long periods of time. This is what he said to Redding, California's ABC affiliate KRCR in early 2020.
All these charges are either going to drop down to petty stuff or going to throw out. These are charges that the minimum usually is 15 years. The maximum is life. You can Google it, and there's people doing, a lot of people in California, every state I've been to, that I get these crazy charges that doing life or 25 to life typically over these type of charges. Now, either I'm the luckiest guy alive or maybe there's more to these stories.
Even he realizes he shouldn't be free. There are even online efforts, including this Facebook page, that track Pirate's whereabouts to try to help warn the public. Joining me, someone who has covered Pirate's extensive background is Eric Grossarth. He's a reporter for EastIdahoNews.com. Eric, thank you very much for coming on the show. Appreciate it. All right, look, I will admit that I did not follow this case before I read about it recently. So I come into this and I look at that background and I say to myself, how could this have possibly happened? Am I missing something here?
You know, these are a lot of those cases where it's a he said, she said type of deal. There is Pirate, who's in the instance with the victim. There's not many other witnesses to this. He was in a remote cabin with that victim in Alaska. And then here in this incident, here in Idaho, he was just him and the victim at this house most of the time. So it's one of those cases where you don't have a lot of physical evidence to tie him to any kind of crime at all. So he reaches these plea deals, which gets him out of custody relatively soon for those crimes.
But there were the earlier cases where he was convicted of horrible offenses. So I would think that prosecutors would be reluctant to cut any kind of deal with him that would get him out. I get it. Your point is that prosecutions can be tough, that if they don't feel like they have an incredibly solid case, sometimes they'll cut a deal. I get that. But with someone with this kind of violent background, it really surprises me. Again, I don't know the prosecutor's office the way that you do, so I'm just trying to figure this out.
You know, going into this case, they saw a sentencing enhancement for Pirate. So if he was convicted, they would try to tack on additional years to his sentence with that sentencing enhancement. Then the case kept getting delayed again and again because of the coronavirus. And he comes up to about a year behind bars here in Bannock County and says, hey, look, I'll take this plea deal. You drop it to misdemeanors, let me out, and we'll get this case out of your hands. We won't keep delaying it anymore. And prosecutors were kind of in this Idaho case in an interesting predicament. There was not a lot of evidence other again than what that witness said. She testified at an earlier preliminary hearing, came up with some different details of her story than she originally told police, saying that she was a little hesitant to come forward at first with those details. So again, it's one of those cases where Pirate says, hey, it didn't happen that way, and the victim feels that they were violated by this man. So prosecutors, again, what do they go off? The word of this woman or Pirate? So it left them with a really hard case, and to them, they just wanted to get some sort of conviction and get Pirate out of the state or wherever he is going, since that is kind of his pattern of just moving from place to place.
Well, that's what I want to ask you, because, I think this guy is a dangerous guy. What do we know about his location now? Is he still in Idaho?
A search of the National Sex Offender Registry shows that Pirate is a transient person living in the San Francisco area, but they haven't been able to confirm that because he doesn't have an actual physical address to go off of on that sex offender registry. And he appeared on camera during the sentencing. I was able to watch that over Zoom, and it appeared he was in some kind of car or homeless encampment. So we don't really know how to track this guy or where he is, but I'm sure at some point those facial tattoos will pop up again somewhere in one of these Facebook groups that have been dedicated to trying to warn the public again where he is and what he is accused and convicted of in the past.
Yeah, I was going to say that the good news is it's not like he's going to be hard to spot, right? It's not like people are going to, it's not like he can go in disguise. They're going to find this guy. And there are these big social media efforts, as you were just mentioning, to try to ensure that people know about him, where he is, and warning women around the country about him. All right, Eric Grossarth, thank you very much for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.